Hello, travelers, and welcome to Key West's historical Fort Taylor. We start off by driving into the park, and we come in and see the Fort Taylor timeline as we walk up the path that takes you straight to the fort, but beautiful sceneries to the left and to the right, a sandy tree area, and then you walk upon this brick path to see a little sign about Fort Taylor. Fees to get into this park are very minimal as it's only $6 per vehicle, which in Key West you could take a golf cart or drive your own car. Bicycling is also very easy and recommended as you could tour around the entire park. Its hours are 8 a.m. until sundown, 365 days a year, and the fort closes at 5 p.m. A short little inclined hike through the woods brings you to this vintage blacksmith station. Sadly, nobody was working at the blacksmith station, but it does show a typical blacksmith and what they may be doing during that time. As you turn the corner from the blacksmith station, this is the entrance to the park to where you see prison cells or storage stations. There was actually a tour guide getting ready to happen at this point. We wanted to do a self-guided tour as during the day we had seen several different things and we were just wanting to explore ourselves. A true one-of-a-kind experience visiting Fort Taylor not only provides a magnificent natural setting to birdwatch or swim, but also immerse yourself in the history of the Civil War. On the southern edge of Key West, Fort Taylor was a Civil War and is a National Historic Monument housing the largest cache of Civil War armament in the world. Beyond its historical importance, the park is the southernmost state park in the continental United States. Construction of the fort began in 1845 as part of a mid-19th century plan to defend the southeast coast of the United States through a series of forts after the War of 1812. Even before the onset of the American Civil War in April of 1861, the United States government recognized the importance of holding Fort Taylor if the southern states seceded. An official report to the United States Secretary of War on December 28, 1860 stated that General Scott will further ask the attention of the Secretary to Forts Jefferson and Taylor, which are wholly national, being of far greater value even to the most distant point of the Atlantic coast than to the state of Florida. At At midnight on January 13, 1861, Union Captain John Milton Brannan moved his 44 men to the 1st U.S. Artillery Regiment from Key West Barracks to Fort Taylor. Despite having no orders to do so, Captain Brannan took the initiative in manning the fort to prevent it from falling into Confederate hands. It became a key outpost for threatening blockade runners during the Union blockade. Major William H. French arrived in April of 1861 with his artillery unit. In 1898, the fort was reduced to 2 stories and Battery Osceola was added to the south casemate. The battery consisted of 2 12-inch M1895 guns. The Civil War era guns were used as fill, being buried within the new battery to save on materials. Battery Adair was added to the west casement and included 4 3-inch M1898 15-pound rapid-fire rifles. The fort was heavily used again during the Spanish-American War of 1898, during World War I in 1917 through 1918, and in World War II from 1941 to 1945. The fort was also used and active during the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. From 1947 to present day, the base is no longer of use to the U.S. Army. The fort was turned over to the United States Navy in 1947 for maintenance. In 1968, volunteers led by Howard England excavated Civil War guns and ammunition ammunition buried in long abandoned parts of the fort to form what would be considered the nation's largest collection of Civil War cannons. Fort Taylor was placed on the National Register of Historical Places in 1971 and designated a National Historical Landmark in 1973. Due to the filling in of land around the fort, including the creation of an attractive stretch of beach, the park now occupies 87 acres. Visiting Fort Zachary Taylor Historical Park was a highlight of our trip to Key West, not only with the historical significance of the Civil War and seeing a historical base and fort with all of the armament and cannons. There is also a beautiful beach that you could visit while in the park under the same admission fee. Knobby brain coral, tube coral, and starlet coral are just a few of the coral species that are found within the park. The reefs of the park are found between beds of large seagrass and shores, which is not typical of coral reefs. However, seagrass beds do increase the clarity of the water around them, which in turn helps the coral reefs grow. One of the only sandy beaches that you can find in Key West, it is a great place to snorkel, picnic, hike, or just take in the sceneries as you've seen in this video. If you are planning a trip to Key West, or you've been in the past and have never visited this fort, please put it at the top of your list as a must-see attraction. It does not take long. You could probably spend 45 minutes to an hour and see the entire base, and take beautiful pictures and learn a lot about Florida's history of the Civil War. If you've enjoyed this type of video, please consider giving us a thumbs up. Give us a comment if you've been there, and we hope you'll take time to subscribe to the channel as more and future videos with history and other traveling will happen. Thanks so much for watching. Enjoy your day.